came and said he had this idea. He was working on this big project, and he came and saw one of our films at our office where we were trying to engage our youth and young adults in Savannah and bring awareness to youth gun violence and some of the pressures that they're dealing with. And he came and wanted to pick myself and one of our team members' brains about how these youth think and how will this project impact Savannah. And I was like, man, this is great work that you're proposing to do in our city. So thank you, Sean, for and I want to welcome, on behalf of the city of Savannah, I want to welcome you all to the Otis Johnson Cultural Arts Center. And a big thank you to the team that's working behind the scenes for Team Savannah, as well as the Ben Tucker Theater. This is an amazing space, so we hope that you all will come back for future productions as well. But without further ado, welcome everyone to the Nice Guy Q&A. Today we'll hear from the creative team and cast about making of the film, as well as the themes of masculinity, identity, and personal growth as its core. Let's begin with some brief introductions. Please share your name and the role that you had in Nice Guy.
My name is Aaron J. Nelson. I go by AJ, and I'm the director of Nice Guy.
My name is Sean B. Fletcher, and I was the lead Victor as well as the executive producer of Nice Guy.
My name is Devon Lewis. I was Coach Dan. I am just an actor.
Hi, you guys. My name is Nikki Shupavu Thompson. I'm the writer and also creative producer of Nice Guy.
Shane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Shane B. Fletcher. I was an alter ego, and the movie Nice Guy.
George?
Hey everybody, my name is George Middlebrook, and I play the role of Rodney in Nice Guy.
And I do want to say, both George and Shane would have been here, but Shane is currently in Seattle, working his day job. He's a software engineer for Boeing, and George is actually working on set. So they would have loved to be here, but they're here in spirit, but I'm glad that they're here on the Zoom with us.
All right, give them another round of applause. So we'll start with AJ.
Yes.
What initially drew you to the Nice Guy, and what message did you want audiences to leave with?
One, I just love to direct. I love the feeling of being able to look into the lens of others and into the lens of how actors move and their contributions, and to be able to direct that is a blessing. What originally drew me to Nice Guy, when we had it was the first interview, it was you, me, Sid, and Nikki, and they explained the idea of it. And at a time right now where we're dealing with a lot of tropes of masculinity and stereotypes of masculinity, it's tough to try to navigate the world as a black man. And I felt like this film did a really, really great job of trying to find out how to navigate the world as a young black man in this day and age. So that's what drew me to it.
Good. Okay, Sean, what was your process in shaping Nice Guy from concept to screen?
Okay. This was a long process. The concept of Nice Guy at first, I knew the character Victor in my head was 2020, right? I was watching some movie and it was just about a young black man who was just getting out of the hood, right? And I think that there's, even though that's a true narrative, I think that there should be more narratives about black men out there. So, but I've never written a script. I knew that for my thesis that I had to, act in something and produce it. So I said, why not, create my own project? However, I don't want to learn how to write a script, right? So I filled out the dramatic writing form. And shout out to Avery Stork, who's the chair of the dramatic writing. And she got me in contact with Miss Nikki Shupavu Thompson, and just, please give her a process, like Nikki and I just gelled instantly, right? We would constantly have just work sessions throughout the summer. We first met via Zoom April 2025, and then from then on, we just kept, just meeting. And she was just very adaptable with my ideas, and she wrote the dialogue, she created it, right? And so she was just she wrote it, and then we did a focus group. So I went to Morehouse College for my undergrad. Yes, come on, house. And then I did a focus group because the script was 28 pages. So I wanted some of my Morehouse brothers, as well as Caroline Soranke, and then my friend Shaniva Edwards were on the call as well to hear their perspectives and how to flesh out these characters. So it's 28 pages. We took their feedback and condensed it to 25 pages. After 25 pages, everyone was telling us it's too long. We then went to a Black-owned script consultant company by the name of The Professional Pen, and he gave us a lot of great feedback and said, you need to, this is how to just improve the storyline and the writing in general. And I seen it, I know this is like, it's a student project or a short film, but I saw it bigger, right? Because I knew that the concepts that we were talking about had major elements or masculinity. The time period we're in where everyone's talking about alpha male, beta male, nice guy, how nice guys finish last. And a lot of Black men, are talking about these concepts, especially young Black men. So how can we talk about this succinctly in a short film, which was incredibly hard. Like even now, I'm like, there's so much elements that I think we can explore. But from then, we had a finalized script by October, and that was kind of how the concept and the story came into fruition. But we were just jumping back and forth, meeting on Zoom in the summer, and pretty much, picking everyone's brain, and then we copywritten the script as well.
Great. Okay, well, I'm gonna skip you and go to Miss Nikki,
No problem.
because he kind of segued into her question. So, Nikki, what was your process for developing the script from idea to final draft?
Well, oftentimes when I write, I pull from a very personal place. And I don't have the strongest relationship with my father. And I was like, this is a man who wasn't really a pivotal, important part of my life. So early on, I automatically identified with Victor's character. And I'm very big on identity and understanding your name and the value of what it means and learning the definition of who you are. So I was like, why not be Victor? I was like, that means conqueror, someone who is victorious. And oftentimes, you don't understand who you are until you understand your identity. So in writing this, I was like, let me pull from a personal place, but know that it's not my story, it's Sean's story. And then to be able to mix a bit of our background and understanding that, being a Black person and being proud to be that, and I'm a Black woman to write the voice of a Black man, and that excites me. And leading with the voice of, I love Black men, I think they're wonderful. And it is such a pivotal group that is being a bit outshined as far as their voice is concerned. And to be able to lead that as a woman, that I had to jump on the project. I had to.
Awesome. Can I call you Coach Dan?
If it works, I'll tell
Look,
you.
I've been in the gym, I said I'm gonna be just like him. Coach Dan serves as a key catalyst in Victor's growth. How did you prepare for this role?
Preparation is kind of my everyday life. As most people know, I'm a pro bodybuilder. So coaching people, getting ready for competitions, motivating people to get up, get in the gym, staying on their diets, is something that I do daily. So falling into the role of Coach Dan when Sean called me, I just took it as an everyday job, because literally this is what I do. I speak life into people. I speak, I hear people's tragedies. I hear people's turmoils. I hear everything that people go through. And I'm kind of that vessel that absorbs that for them. And sometimes it's draining, but it's rewarding because then you take that off of them and then they start to find their way back. So being in the position, playing the role as Coach Dan, I was just like, that's too easy, because this is just me, So now being in the fact that actually falling into the role and recognizing the position that Victor was in, it touched me a little bit in a way. way, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been in that position, so I get it.
Right. Mr. Middlebrook.
Hey,
All right. Rodney is a disciplined, emotionally restrained father figure. How did you prepare to embody that complexity?
well, I think that you gotta just when it came to Rodney, I had to approach it from like the inside out, and because characters that like are quiet or strict, they usually come from a place where they're probably carrying a lot that they don't say, and so I had to focus on like emotional restraint, and you know, sometimes like Rodney, what he doesn't do may be more powerful than what he does do, you know, and just you know, being an actor, you gotta build a backstory. You know, so even what's beyond on the page, so you read the script, you build a backstory, and you know, Rodney's a discipline, man, and that usually comes from structure, you know, maybe military experience or hard upbringing or life experience that taught him that sometimes emotions can be a liability. People could think you're weak if you show emotions, and you know, so I think once I understood the why, about why he's guarded, then I feel more justified about what I was doing instead of being rigid. You know, from the father figure aspect, you know, I lean into the idea that love isn't always soft. It's protective sometimes. It's tough. Sometimes it's misunderstood. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to just show that, you know, at the end, you saw at the end of it, I was proud of him, but, you know, I kind of sent him through the ringer, you know.
Thank you. Shane Fletcher. Y'all guys look alike. I told y'all that before.
No, never heard that.
All the time.
As Victor's alter ego, you represent his internal conflict. How did you prepare for this role, especially acting opposite your brother?
Honestly, just, you know, I feel like it's a little bit of my everyday life, you know, just being a twin and I'm the younger brother. So you're constantly getting compared. And, you know, talking to Sean, he was just like, he was telling me about the role, and I was just like, okay, cool. I have to figure out his objective, the alter ego's objective. So I started watching Fight Club. I started reading the whole entire script to figure out, okay, who is Victor? And I felt like I was like, you know, menacing and annoying, but that was me being younger twin to Sean. And I felt like the alter ego actually helped Victor throughout the film because he pulled different elements out of it, from him being a nice guy and him holding Victor accountable to seeing Victor prevail at the end. So honestly, just trying to figure out a backstory, like George stated, and also trying to think about the objective in the role. But yeah, definitely Sean helped me and prepared me a lot to take on this role.
All right. So they are twins. If y'all didn't know. All right. AJ, how do the themes in the film reflect real world social dynamics, particularly around Black male identity?
Well, I would say that is a really good question. I think the one thing about us as Black men, especially with the film, is that a lot of us have very weird or estranged relationships with our fathers, where we have these father wounds when we grow. Like me, I grew up without. And you know, my father was a Ronald Reagan victim in the sense of how the drug war came and kind of wiped out with the crack cocaine epidemic and the heroin epidemic of the 1970s. So a lot of times us as Black men, we have these father wounds that we are not prepared to even confront until our gasket basically blows and we're like, well, I have to blow up or I have to be angry at this point. And just watching, or even like the idea when I created my backstory for Victor, just being a Black man in America, especially a young Black man in America, where you're dealing with so many avenues that are trying to speak through you or speak to you, and some of them are detrimental, like a lot of these alpha male red pill podcasts, which I had to speak for. But you know how they are very detrimental and they're leading us down a very bad path. And they're telling Black men that you have to be materialistic instead of understanding yourself, especially at a time like this, because the suicide rate for Black men is rising. And it's a very dangerous path when we're telling Black men that you are nothing without these things that you're seeing that these other people are having on social media, then who are you? Because a lot of people live vicariously, unfortunately, through what they see on social media. And it affects the mentality of the black man to where they feel like they're nothing without seeing what other people have. So one thing with Victor, seeing the fact that he had the character that Jalen played, another man basically taking his girl made him feel a little bit weaker, inferior. But in the sense of like, you have to learn who you are to be strong, not even strength, but you have to learn, I feel like I'm going around a lot of things, but I'm trying to get back to a point. You have to love yourself, and you have to have self-compassion for yourself as a black man to be able to understand who you are, because this world, unfortunately, has treated us very mean. If I can say so myself, we had to go through Jim Crow, we had to go through the Reconstruction era, Civil Rights Movement, redlining, the fact that they moved us out of the house so our woman will be able to eat when Franklin D. Roosevelt did the whole thing with EBT. So we're dealing with a lot of mechanisms, and we're dealing with a lot of things and tropes of black men, and we're being taught these things that are wrong. But everything starts with like self-love, and everything starts with self-compassion, and that's one thing that Victor had to learn. And whether it's through boxing, whether it's through any type of other hobby or trait, there's something about us as black men, we have to get back to loving ourselves, because the war is on love in a sense. So yeah.
Great response. Sean,
Yes.
how did you approach balancing the roles of actor and executive producer on your first film?
Man, I don't think we have the time. We don't have enough time for that, but I would say executive producer, I'll speak on that because I'm a systematic thinker, right? So I think I'm a huge organizer. So I like to know logistics, like to be in the knowing of things, like to know, as you saw, I was like running around, right? Like where things are. And just having a strong team and crew. Like because I was, I knew that I had to invest my own money in this, right? So I said, if anyone's coming on this team, they're going to be the right people, right? Students, right? Right students. So for the EP side, I interviewed the SCAD students. This is all student-led. Like all what you saw was student-led from SCAD. So I interviewed just producers. I interviewed just even producers, my script supervisor, just my crew, just so I know I had like the right people. I got referrals. I was asking professors. The sound you hear is from just a professor just saying recommending just students or alum to assist and help. So I think, and once I had producers, they were able to kind of like take that weight off of me. But I think for the acting side, it was challenging at times, right? Because, you want to just focus on the work, right? Which I was doing, I think it worked out because during like the pre-production, and because I was so enveloped in the story, like I understood Victor's motivation. So I would journal a lot. I read, there's an acting book called Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen. I would really understand Victor's why. I would writing my objective, like what does Victor want in each scene, how to prepare for that. And I think because I did the work early on and as well as like during the rehearsals, it was easier to balance. So by the time on set, when it was very difficult, the work was already in me. So it wasn't too hard. And I think I have strong producers, Joshua and Joshua Watkins, as well as, the team to really take that weight off of me, which I'm very appreciative and grateful for them. So it was challenging, I think more so the financial weight and maybe logistically, but because the crew was so excellent, it wasn't too stressful.
And y'all did great work.
Thank you.
Coach, my coach.
Yo,
How did you balance Coach Dan's toughness with his underlying compassion?
I'll be honest. Growing up in a world where I had a dad that didn't show compassion, you had to learn from somewhere, right? I grew up in a house of abuse, as most black men do, either some form of physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. So, being the fact that I didn't get shown the nurturing side from my mom or or the nurturing side of my dad when things were down for us, you know, I had to learn for myself as a father how to adjust and become more compassionate towards my children, because they're kids, right? You know, everybody has to take a step and learn from something. You know, either it's, you know, a fall, you know, scraping the knee, picking yourself back up, but you have to learn to say, hey, let me help you up. You know, because a lot of us don't get the hand. You know, so when I was, you know, developing Coach Dan, I was thinking to myself, I'm not this compassionate to my clients, so how can I be a little bit more softer? And I started thinking from a dad's standpoint, you know, being a father, that standpoint of, okay, I'm hard on my boys, but I'm also soft in a way, not to the sense of they get away with murder because they already know I'm with it, but it's with the regards of knowing that this is something I created. And I look at all my clients the same way. You know, I'm creating a new version of them. So when Vic came to Coach Dan, he needed a new version of who he was. And it was that simple for me to fall into that because I was like, you know what, I do that for my kids, I do that for clients. That's just a simple role. So finding another person and being in the position, I felt relatable to Victor because I was the oldest boy. You know what I'm saying? Having to pick up the slack. I remember being 6 years old, my dad looked at me and was like, if I die, you become the man of the house. And I'm like, at 6? So it's the reality that most people don't know men face. And it's not just black men, but men all together. We face that across the board because we're the anchor if our father falls down. And everybody comes to lean on you. And the reality of life not showing that side, it makes the other people look at us as like, oh, they're angry black men. Yeah. Or they're just angry men, period. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's not ever the case because when we're trying to voice that part, it gets missed. So again, finding the position of playing Coach Dan and balancing that part is just thinking about it like a dad, just finding love for what you're growing.
Well put. Miss Nikki, I know you didn't run out of ink when you was writing this, so what would you like to include in the full-length feature film script?
So we have a few ideas. There's already an outline written out because thanks to Avery actually gave me a book that wrote about kind of like foreshadowing how to write a short film. And I didn't put two and two together until just now. But I think of like all these relationship dynamics, right? So a black man wants to experience a positive relationship, love interest. They want the intimate family conversation that goes well at the dinner table, right? We want to see the mother dynamic, right? How is the feminine aspect in masculinity's life? How is it when this highly esteemed college student, how is his connection with his professor? How does that look like? Is he the top of his class? Is his teacher a slacker? Does the teacher put more on him than he needs to as the TA? So there's a whole outline of opportunities of just what we can create as far as stories. So that is something that is in the works. So it's just a flood work of ideas that we have.
I think we have an audience that's ready to see. Mr. Middlebrook, how have you experienced similar pressures and how did you learn to set boundaries?
What I had to learn was that, being strong doesn't mean being available to everything. So for me, setting boundaries started with recognizing what actually drains me versus what fuels me. So I got more intentional just about protecting my time, not saying yes to everything just because it's opportunity. I had to say yes to Nice Guy because Shine has family, and that's one of my favorite people, and I'm so proud of him for doing this and even bringing me on board. That was my first time being in Savannah, as well, beautiful city. But just, separate myself from work, communicate clearly, even when it feels uncomfortable, telling people I can't do this right now. That's okay. You don't have to over-explain or have a positivism or something, or just, sometimes we do the most because we want to people please and everything. And one of the biggest tips for me is understanding that silence and space are also forms of just discipline and having boundaries, not just pushing through everything. You don't lose respect by setting boundaries. You actually build it because people start to understand like your standards. And it just made me realize that restraint isn't just about holding things in, and it's about knowing when to step back, when to speak up, and like what you're willing to carry. So that's pretty much it. Just set boundaries and just choosing me.
Thank you. Shane, what's your advice for people dealing with intrusive thoughts or those internal menacing voices? And how do you personally ground yourself when exploring that kind of psychological space in performance?
Yes, I know for me personally, I have a real strong prayer life with God. So I rely on that foundation that I was raised with. And so relying on God, praying, if I'm feeling very anxious or nervous, I take a deep breath. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be okay. At the end of the day, it's not gonna matter in 5 years. So I think just realizing the situation, number one, reflecting on it, taking a step back, but and praying. I think that's for me, prayer and putting in the work, and realizing that you're going through these different emotions in your head, and talking to someone as well. Talking to your support, finding help, talking to your peers. I think that's the key if you're having intrusive thoughts. If you don't know where these thoughts are coming from, I think you should talk to someone, because there's people who are professionals out here that can assist you in any way. So I think talking to someone, acknowledging what you're going through, and praying.
Good response. Okay, AJ, what was the most challenging sequence to execute and why?
Oh, that's a great question. The most challenging? I would have to say Sunday. The last scene, that last scene, yeah. It was. I think what made it so fun at the same time was going through that whole day. But I think it was that ending scene, the scene where it's Dan and Victor and they're punching the bags. Sean was really out of it that day. Like I could tell by his eyes and the fatigue.
I was getting the flu. I had the flu, y'all.
Yeah.
My dude was method acting, I'm gonna tell you that right.
Yeah.
Straight up method
Like
acting.
Jeremy Strong, like type shit. And so, but seeing him fight through that, it's like seeing the uncomfortability in your acting actually made a diamond. The one thing about you that I learned through this whole process is that through these uncomfortable, because you've had uncomfortable moments in the sense of you having to handle every single thing. And as someone that's done projects since like 2017 where I had to produce, edit, direct, act, it's tough. But you've been able to make a diamond every single time. And I've watched you be able to make these diamonds out of your uncomfortability and out of your stress and out of your fatigue. So when we got to Sunday and it was that final scene that we had to do, I was like, whew. But I think that was even the final take that we took that was shown in the film, and it was perfect because it was like Sean was Victor and Victor was Sean, and you guys were intertwined with each other. So that moment for me sticks out, yeah.
Appreciate that, AJ.
I'll give you guys a moment. All right, Sean. What was your process for embodying Victor, and where did you personally connect with him?
Well, I've been that nice guy before. I never got cheated on, so I just want to say that.
Put that out there.
No, I've been that nice guy before, and just that people pleaser. And so even now, I kind of see just like how to set up boundaries, and I wanted to learn. Undergrad, I was going through this time where I was just overextending myself, and I wanted to understand the root why, right? And I said, how come we don't hear more conversations about this among just men, and particularly Black men? So that was easy for me because I can tap into, right? So I personally connected with Victor. But Victor and I are very different, right? Like Victor has a active father. Sean's father was never active in his life, so that was just very different. And then, so I think also just Victor's very awkward, right? I don't feel like I'm that awkward. I hope I'm not, but Victor's very awkward. And Victor doesn't like confrontation. Sean, I don't like the build up to confrontation, but I don't mind it. Like, I don't mind checking someone, if I have to, right? But Victor does not. So I think separating those two distinctions between Victor and Sean, it was interesting, right? And then just doing my research, right, from a research standpoint. My background, my undergrad was in sociology, so I really want to understand his human behavior, right, and his circumstances. Like, he grew up in Savannah, right? So what's the social life in Savannah, right, in 2020 at the time? So with the research, with journaling, with just so much other acting stuff that I had to do, I also was training for the role since the summer. So my trainer, Taquan, come on, right there. Yeah, I wanted to lose weight, so I lost like 30 pounds. I was much bigger. And then with that flu sickness, I could even tell like I was losing weight like per day. I was like, dang. But so I think that was easy. It was easy to connect with him, but I also wanted to find differences, right? And I wanted to showcase myself, and I knew just the message, that this had, because like people are unaliving themselves because they don't have no one to talk to. Like, thank God, Victor's, he sought out Dan, right? But how can this inspire other men to seek out, just counsel when they're in need? So I think Sean would absolutely do that, talk to someone. So I think we had a lot of similarities, just a lot, and differences as well. So that's how I tapped into the character.
Okay. Coach, I'm gonna skip you again and go to Ms. Nikki. How did you approach writing a male-centered narrative while maintaining your own creative perspective?
I reached out to a lot of my guy friends. I had my younger brother read the script. I had some family members, some uncles, and some good friends in the islands read it as well. And I interviewed them. I was like, what's your story? A lot of them had horrible like father dynamics. A lot of them had complex relational issues, and I just kind of told them, I kind of played therapist and mom at the same time. I was like, just open up as much as you're willing to, just to help kind of feed the narrative. And then I asked you to kind of borrow their stories. And I think as writers, there's a giving and a receiving that you kind of take on. And as the writer, I felt like I had to really honor that and do it justice. I'm not a mom yet, but I would love to be a mother of a son. I think that is just such a beautiful connection that I think women should actually want to share. So I kind of nurtured it. And I didn't feel like I had to walk on eggshells. It was just like, ooh, I'm being trusted with someone's baby. Now how do I kind of create this beautiful plot outline? And then to give birth to it visually. I think it's really cool.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, this is a very important question here. Because in our office, where we deal with the highest risk youth in Savannah, we pride ourselves on mentorship. So were there any mentors you had growing up who were similar to Coach Dan figuring your life?
Early on in my bodybuilding career, of course I played professional football. Those coaches are kind of all the same to me. They yell, they scream, they fuss. But when I got into bodybuilding, I learned a lot about myself because it took a different type of discipline. The getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning, being at the gym, doing an hour of cardio, and then training for 2 hours. the coach, his name is Lee Haney. A lot of people don't know who he is, but he's an 8-time Mr. Olympia. So he was my very first bodybuilding coach that took me on for free. Because when I walked into the gym, I was coming from football. You know, I didn't have any direction. I didn't know what to do after that. I tore my PCL in training camp. So, you know, after that, it was just kind of a depression state. So getting into bodybuilding was kind of like, all right, I'm still an athlete. What do I need to do? So it was actually Lee Haney's wife who told him he was going to train me, which was actually pretty funny. Because I thought he was a creepy old man in the gym at first. I won't even lie. Because I was doing legs and he just walks up and was like, "You got some nice legs, man." And I was like, "Thanks." And the guy walks up to me and was like, "Hey man, you know who you talking to?" It was like some creepy old dude. He was like, "No, that's Lee Haney." And I immediately dropped my weights and ran after him. I was like, "Hey, sorry. Thought you was an old dude." And so his wife walks in and she was like, "He's doing your first show." And in 2015, I left the natural side of bodybuilding because I was a natural competitor for 3 years. And I stepped into the NPC. And I'll be honest, it was a cultural shock. And one thing I always remember what Lee said to me was, when you're on top, you don't stop. Because you only got one life, you gotta live it. So I decided to take the next step, and it took some time. I've been in bodybuilding for 16 years. A lot of people don't know the time that you have to put in before you become in the top 10 percentile of, you know, being called an elite athlete. And I finally made it 2 years ago. So, you know, having Lee Haney in your corner, somebody of that caliber, speaking life into you, is definitely something that a lot of Black men need, because we don't have those things. It's something that Sean said early on, is we don't have a way to vent for each other. You know, social media is kind of our place sometimes, but it shouldn't be, because that's where you get all the negative responses and all the alpha, red pill energy, bullcrap, you know, Kevin Samuels, all that other mess.
Yeah.
So, you know, in reality, you just gotta find somebody that kind of understands you and what your why is. And Lee understood mine.
Great answer. Mr. Middlebrook,
Yes, sir.
what was your experience working on a fully student-led production like Nice Guy?
It was a very grounded experience for me, because I'm coming off a lot of highs. So nothing like a student project, man. And with a student project, like, everybody's there because they want to be there. It's just not a job. Like, they go to school for this. Yeah, this is their dream to be on set. You know, no one was coasting. You know, everybody was locked in. The energy was raw. It was collaborative. It was intentional. You know, a student project don't have the same resources as a big project, whatever. So everybody trusts each other. You know, we were doing a lot of things on Friday. It was like, you know, just creating in real time. You know, we built a world together. So, you know, I came in prepared. You know, I stayed open to suggestions, and, you know, things were like constantly evolving, you know, but it's practice for me, because it's, you know, it's sharpening my instincts and making me more present. It's just even, just being intentional with working with college students, knowing that they're going to be directors and producers on huge projects one day. Hopefully they remember an old guy like me. You know, I remember him from Nice Guy. I want to hire him. I remember that guy. You know, it was 20 years ago. You know, but it also reminded me, like, why I started acting. You know, just that hunger. You know, it just started off with a dream. You know, going to school, going to classes or whatever. Yeah, so it reminded me why I started acting. You know, because before the industry stuff, before the pressures of auditions and the pressure of getting a job, like, you got to work on a student project. You know, you get to work with your students and do a thesis, or, you know, for your finals. Or, I'm not sure what the word is for that, but you know, everybody was wearing multiple hats. People were like solving problems on the fly. Sean was, you know, he was doing everything. He was boxing, directing, producing, picking up people from airports. You know, just a great guy, whatever. But yeah, that kind of environment just feels a real sense of respect. It's just, I can't wait to work with you all again. You know?
Don't forget Mr. Middlebrook.
Oh yeah, don't forget me. See?
So Shane, knowing this was your first principal role, how was your experience bringing a purely internal, symbolic character to life?
Honestly, it was a great experience for me. I think, I was going through a transition. So I drove from Seattle all the way to Georgia for the birth of my son. And so I was in the midst of doing that. And I was telling Sean, all right, I'm dealing with a lot. But once I got on set and seeing how professional the students was, the cameras, hair and makeup, I think that was my time to be like, okay, I'm locking in. Like I really took it serious. And then, seeing Sean, I think, he's my brother, but seeing him in an acting mode, he was just like, okay, don't talk to me, I'm Victor. And I was just like, oh, he's serious. But that engagement allowed me to lock in. I'm like, okay. So it kind of fueled me even more to be like more annoying on set as the alter ego. And I think that helped him locking in and me seeing the environment and how focused all the students were, the actors, the cast, that really prepared me, honestly. And I think that's, that gave me motivation, and it prepared me to do the role and understanding the why of the alter ego, like his motivation, his objective. Why is he talking to Victor this way? So I think really breaking down the script and the character, how we prepare for the role, but it was a great experience overall. Like I'm happy I did this. I would definitely want to do more roles. So I'm looking forward to working and doing more projects.
Yeah,
Shane said hire him too, y'all.
yeah. And let me just say this, because shout out to Shane, because in the midst of, we were filming, right? Like my nephew was, his due date was, what was the due date?
The 11th.
The 11th. So we were February 11th. So we were filming from the 5th through the 8th. And Shane said, Sean, if my child comes during filming, I'm going to be and I'm in Savannah and I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to be pissed at you, and you're not going to hear the end of it. So it was just dealing with that. And then he drove from Seattle to Georgia. And I was just praying. I said, Lord, please keep him in that womb until this is done. And I said, Lord, I was praying. I said, God, please do not. And thankfully, he was born at a later date after filming, by the grace of God. And then, just trying also, even though he's my brother, but not trying to take advantage of that, right? Because, Shane's working, he's a software engineer and just understanding where he's coming from and driving all this way. So I don't have to play two roles. So I do appreciate you, Shane. I wish you were here and I love you so much. So thank you.
Hey, AJ. Were there any unexpected moments on set that ultimately improved the film?
Back burner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back burner. We had was one part where it was George and it was Sean and there were Victor and Rodney, and Sean there was a part where he's supposed to say, I'm getting left on the back burner, that he was just missing. And I told him, Sean, you're missing back burner. And it felt like what happened, it just clicked for him. It was a pleasure to direct you, bro. This was a really great experience. I know this is not the answer to this question, but I need to tell him something while I have all these people here. I have to say thank you, because I have not been able to direct a project in over 4 years. Well, really 5, because the last episode, I'm not gonna talk about myself too much. I wanna say thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for giving me the chance to be able to lead you guys, because you guys did a great job. I know when I was getting the storyboard together, and you guys basically were like, oh, this is an amazing storyboard, and I was like, yeah. In the sense of I know I'm making something great, but I just want to say thank you guys for trusting me for this project. And when we do get this feature film done, because we will get this feature film done. I'm gonna claim it right now.
Amen. Come on.
When we get this done, I get to be able to lead you guys again, and you guys also get to trust in me, and as I get to trust in you guys. Like, this is just an amazing project. This is a Black project. This is a beautiful Black project, and I'm proud of the beautiful Black project that we were able to make. So yeah, that's basically it.
Hey man, when this becomes a feature, don't forget me too. Just
And they might need a moderator too, so I'm
And no, thank you, AJ. And I just want to piggyback just from that moment on set, because there was a moment where where Victor confronts his dad Rodney, right? And I was at every take, like the first take, my voice was hoarse, right? In between takes, I had to add my first lady, Atlas. They're amazing and just had to constantly give me water. I was losing my voice, but by the second or third take, AJ said, "Sean, you're missing just a line or whatever, you gotta say that." And then it just clicks. And I was outside, I come inside, right? And I just ruminated on that. Like I did a method 3 entrances where I just thought about why, like what do I want in the scene? Like just ruminated on what each word meant in like a millisecond. And so by the time George and I were going, or Rodney and Victor were, in the scene, all of a sudden the tears just started to flow because and then once AJ called cut, my body couldn't tell that it wasn't real. Like I was like hyperventilating. I was like, guys, I need a moment to go in the bathroom because it just was so intense. And I was like, Sean, this is acting. Like this is what this is. Like you were so present. Like we were just, going. Yeah, it was like a ping pong. Like he was giving me something, I was giving him something, and my body naturally responded. And I'm like, wow. And I think that scene was so powerful. And the scene on Sunday as well with when Victor and Dan, like I love that scene where just, how Victor's just venting to Coach Dan. And I think, those moments were just, I was like, man, like it's so transformative. But so I appreciate you, AJ, for just pulling that out of me, because this experience, this project, Nice Guy, would not have happened at all had it not been for your direction. And I'm just grateful.
We kind of hinted on some of that, Sean, but what were your favorite moments in doing this film, and what were some of your challenges?
Okay. Yeah, I think I pretty much said my favorite moments were just the coach scenes and the scenes with Rodney, just because it's just the acting and those heartfelt moments. And I was just being present. Like I was getting very sick. My body was weak. I haven't been sick in over 6 months prior, right? So all of a sudden that weekend, I decided to get really sick. So it was very hard just to push through. But I think those were my favorite moments. The challenges, it had to be the boxing, day 2. That was the most challenging day. The ending scene that y'all saw, we did over 20 takes. So imagine, you're already not feeling good, right?
man.
And we're action, boo, 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 boo. All right, action, boo, and it
I thought he was gonna hurt himself. I swear.
Yeah, you did. I was like, okay, y'all, I need some water. It wasn't until that I was like, I need something. My brother rubbed like Vicks Vapor, and I hated Vicks as a kid. But once he rubbed it on my neck and my chest, my lungs felt. I just felt so good. I was like, okay, let's go AJ. I got the second win in me. So, but day 2 was the hardest day physically for me. My gosh, that day was just a lot. And our fight choreographer was actually my opponent at the end, Zephaniah Terry, who he's also an actor, but he was like, "Come on, Sean, come on, you got this." Everyone was just saying like, "Come on, Sean, you got this," because I was getting very high. I was like, "All right, we got how many more takes?" And it was just a lot. It was a lot, but I think that was the most challenging.
All right. So we're gonna wrap up with some closing reflections. So anyone feel free on the panel to answer. The first question is, what advice would you give younger Black men navigating hyper-masculine narratives online while trying to define themselves authentically?
Honestly, what I would say to the young Black males nowadays, just unplug from social media. I mean, sometimes you just have to decompress. You have to take away the real life moments, right? You know, when I grew up, we wrote letters. You know, we talked to each other. We had to go outside, and we actually had to meet up to even talk and see each other. You know what I'm saying? There was no TikTok and Instagram. There was none of that. So nowadays, you don't get that camaraderie. You know, we built friendships. Friendships are social media based nowadays. You know what I'm saying? There's no real friends that meet up and hang out and talk anymore. So that's where we find ourselves following behind what's being said on social media, what's being laid. You know, we're being taught through visionary toxicity because a lot of people are showing you their versions of what they want you to believe instead of what their reality is. Nobody's showing you getting beat up on Instagram at home. Nobody's showing you the arguments that happen behind the screen. They're only showing you the happy good times. And then what do? You share those same toxic videos to each other. And then you're expecting your man to be this man. And that's not the reality. Your man is who he is. And you just have to accept him for that. Not saying subject yourself to the lesser than, but accept him for who he is. And stop trying to become that number one dude that takes you on trips and yachts, you know, all this other stuff. It doesn't exist in reality. A real man's working to get money, to take care of home, to provide for a family. Not the other way around.
Okay. Okay. What is next for everyone?
So during the summer, well, actually, dang, I got like 4 different projects actually. So during the summer, I'm doing a show called Girlfriend Therapy, which is a spinoff of a show I did 6 years ago called Boyfriend Therapy. And it's about 5 different black women that have different neurodivergent personalities that all go to group therapy together to get advice. But it's comical. It's 10 episodes. We're shooting it from June to September through the weekends. I already know what my thesis project is going to be. It's going to be called Blacked In, which is about a Harvard sociologist that's black. He wants to do a social experiment where there are 3 couples that live in a 2-bedroom apartment together. And if they all can survive for 6 months, they win $50,000 each. And it's shot in a mockumentary sitcom style, kind of like how Abbott Elementary and The Office is. Then I have a project I'm playing during the summer after that called To Catch a Coon, which is kind of like basically, you already know the show To Catch a Predator. So like, you know how in To Catch a Predator, how in To Catch a Predator, it was like Chris Hansen was looking for like, you know, pedophiles. And this is a Hotep man who was looking for people who were dating outside their race. And it's a comedy. And then I'm planning on doing a show, hopefully post-grad, called Negro in Color. And Negro in Color is about 3 different people who have 3 different life paths. And they have a guardian angel who they can't see, but the audience can see and provides narration. And the whole idea of Negro in Color is like how Negro, Spanish for black, but it's like black is actually like the avoidant of all color, whereas white is the absorbent of all color. And each season is a different stage, so in a different color. So like the blue stage would be the first season, and how blue is a reflection, how water reflects on the sky. And so we're talking about trust. We're getting to know these characters until we go into gold stage and green stage and red stage and black stage. So like I have so many, it's crazy, I have so many ideas lined up. It's just about where do I put these? But luckily, because of Sean and because of Nice Guy, I am gaining the resources to be able to get these projects out because it's hard making black projects. Like it's hard, like, people don't understand that. It is hard making black projects because they don't want to put us on TV. They don't want to put us in these big films. So like, and that's why, I don't want to go on too much tangent, but that's why I don't want to, even though I get on Tubi sometimes, the thing is that there are platforms, these are platforms that are putting black people projects out. So my goal is to make black art that is not stereotypical but accurate. So yeah.
Facts.
All right.
And that's a fact. What's next? What's next right now is to write this thesis, graduate, finish that, and I'm moving that to Atlanta, getting signed to an agent, and just acting, creating, producing, writing, collaborating with Nikki to write the feature film. So there's a lot more in store, and to just work with, so much more in many projects. So that's what's happening in the future. I'm letting the Lord order my steps because I'm figuring it all out, but I trust him.
So within the next couple of weeks, we're starting an independent project. Sean actually submitted, passed out some of the flyers. Anyways, I have an independent project I'm writing called The Gentleman. It's a psychological thriller. It's actually about murder on Valentine's Day, but hey, because it's my birthday, so I hate it. So I made a independent vertical series about it. So we got that in the works. The scripting's done. We're all the way up to season 3. So I'm actually in the process of trying to find casting now. It's a little harder than normal because I'm normally on the front side of the camera. So trying to do the casting is definitely a little harder than I expected it to be. And then I actually got a movie project that I'm getting ready for in June called Death by Divorce, something like that. Playing a police officer, of course. And then a couple of more movie projects between June, July, August, and then I'm competing my last competition in October. So after October, bodybuilding is completely done for me, and I'm a full-time actor at that point. So, this year we're just gonna go ahead and focus on wrapping up and ending the year on somebody's Grammy stage. Or Oscar, whichever one comes first, I'll take them. So but I want to say this one piece before I give up my mic. I'm proud of everything that you guys have created, right? I was a pain in the ass, I will say that right now. But I came in town with the expectations that I'm used to, right? And not understanding in the beginning that this is a student-led project, you know what I'm saying? So to be a part of this project and see the hard work that you guys put in, taking the time out of your days, y'all were up later than me some days. Y'all just called me on set later. So it was cool to see students as dedicated as you guys were, as driven. Because when I left and I got back home, I literally was talking to my homeboy and I was like, man, for those students to be as driven as hard as they were, they're gonna go in Hollywood and be something. Griff has already left, so I hope he sees this video. I want to give Griff a major shout out because my guy is talented with the angles. He has vision for the scenes. He's definitely captured what the movie needed to show, the short film needed to show. He embodied Victor's facial expressions the most, because if you miss those emotionalities in the film goes nowhere. So all the way down from the director, down to the makeup and the wardrobe, and this lovely lady here. I just want to give y'all your flowers, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
We're going to end that Nikki response because I know where time is approaching.
So I will be a part of the Eugene O'Neill theater program. Part of the cohort, so I'm super excited. We have amazing artists like August Wilson, Dominique Morrissey, these writers who have come out of this program, and it's a small cohort, and I just feel really honored to have gotten accepted. So thank you guys so much.
I mean, like 10, 15 seconds, y'all, because we got to do
All right, I'll be quick. I'll be finished. I'll be graduating this summer in August with my master's in data science from UC Berkeley. I still work full-time as an engineer, so I'm hoping to transition to Atlanta. Also want to do more acting projects as well. So yeah, and acting in modeling projects. But yeah, this was just a blessing from the cast, from the crew, Izzy, Lauren, Kenzie, Blue. Yeah, Griff was amazing. Sean, he did his thing. Like it was inspiring to see my brother, put this all to work. But shout out to everyone. It was an amazing experience.
Jordan, what's next? What you working on?
Yeah, so we just finished shooting season 3 of Beauty and Black. It's #1 on Netflix. Such an honor to be a part of that. I'm working on doing the stunt department with Superman 2 right now. And then I started a series this weekend called the Black Coffee series, produced by Turkey Rashida, Atlanta, local people, whatever. So just continuing to work in the industry and build relationships. Do good work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming. Please, we still gotta take pictures. I know we gotta wrap up, but I really appreciate just the hard work and dedication to you all, to the cast, the crew, anyone who I did not mention, and just for the guests. I know some of y'all traveled from Florida. We got DC in the house, so just thank you all. Mommy, I love you. My mom right there. My younger brother's Elijah Desai right there. Thank you so much. And just for all everyone's support.
Real quick, if you guys ever want to find any of my other projects that I've done, you can also find them on Tubi, Southside Hero, 12 Days of Christmas 3, and Angel and Demon. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys watch Tubi. Check those out.
Actually, he doesn't know, but he had my brownie in the stage when I was making baked goods.
Oh, she goes tell her.
I like the mystery life, you know.
What?
Thank you so much for coming.
That's me.
I'm gonna come see you. Always at one spot. I got you. Thank you so much. You look great.
Hey, we gotta get a pic, my man.
I know we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, bro. Yeah, man, you did great.
Really good.
I was like,
No, it's just like every time I do a flight, they come in like they I tell them I'm like, where is it? I gotta like. I keep talking. What happened with Sean's coach? They told me please wait for me. I already
It just keeps moving. I was grateful though. So grateful. Yeah. Oh my God. Hello,
where you said easy.
thank you for coming.
Like 25 times.
So my friend of mine, yeah, they let it go for a long time. I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. I made him like, I'm just saying, I saw you trying. I was like, I need to get back to working out.